of Super League, and this will be as interesting for me as it is for most of our listeners, given where I was this week and the lack of rugby league coverage that I've managed to get hold of. But we start on Thursday night, where it was Leeds 12, Huddersfield 31, in front of 13,169 down at Headingley.
Yeah, we start with Tyler Casfan, who says, Giants didn't do enough to win that, Leeds had to be poor as well, and they were. Had a sprinkle of fortune from the video ref, and Huddersfield come away with a much-needed 2 points. The video ref thing will be the Danny Maguire ruled out try for obstruction that you won't have seen. No. It was a tough call in that I don't think the obstruction was huge, but I've seen tries chalked off for less obstruction, and I've seen them chalked off for lesser offences this weekend.
Right.
So I
feel aggrieved.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, Mitchell Dart's got in touch. He says, clears throat, adjusts collar, cracks knuckles. Hashtag McDermott out.
Mark W said, we've been slowly getting better every week in the league. I'll admit I lost a bit of faith after Swinton, but glad to see the boys finally come but good. Brough and Leeming were on fire. Now it's time to get the season back on track. I want to believe.
Yeah, Leeming's been a bit of a bright spot for them, hasn't he? Through a fairly dismal start to the year. I think he's been playing quite well for them.
Yeah.
In and about.
He's making good average yards every time he carries the ball, and is having a positive impact a lot of the time. I don't know, springing out there, and he kicked a 40-20 in this game. Kicking was a big factor that we'll probably talk about after we've wrapped up all the reviews.
There you go. Paul Michael Craig got in touch. The Thunder from Down Under said Huddersfield's kicking game decided this one, and not just that of Bruss. Leeming and O'Brien also had nice kicks throughout the game. For Leeds, Garbutt and Parcell could hold their heads high, but the rest need to take a good hard look at themselves. For my Giants, Brough again was masterful, Mamo was busy, and I like the look of McIntosh, but Ikahihifo was the best on the pitch. Also thought both England wingers were average.
Yeah, they didn't impose themselves on the game very much, I don't think. Rich Wilkinson said, with Swinton and the tragic passing of Mrs. Davy, I felt Huddersfield might nick this one. The rain, a stop-start. What's that for? Question mark.
What's that for? Maybe you just say that.
I don't know. A stop-start whistle affair plus Brough's top kicking game. That's how it played out. Leeds committed the most cardinal of sins, compounding errors with penalties and penalties with errors. Special mention to Jack Walker, who dealt with bombs and looked the part all night. Another Rhinos favourite in the making. Yeah, the former steel magnate and 17-year-old fullback he's got a talent in him. You can see that is going to be that he's got a potential to spring on, and he's certainly confident, and he was put under a lot of pressure by the Giants' kicking game, but he certainly wasn't the reason why Leeds lost this game.
Good for him. Soap Opera for Men got in touch. Get around that at Soap Opera for Men on Twitter. Phil fucking Clark, they say. What a spunk bubble he is. He was fucking whooping with delight at any Leeds slip up. Because of this pod and its glorious ginger host, he must mean you. I appreciate a tough Wigan performance, but sorry, Mark. I love Wigan getting bad just to put that smug in-bacon back in his box for a week at least. That is fucking brilliant.
Cutthroat Jake.
Sorry, go on.
Cutthroat Jake said, Thursday started out so well. I'd taken a day off to drive above Hadrian's Wall for a surprise visit to my dad to wish him a happy birthday. My mum knew we were coming and kept him in the dark. Things went downhill quickly. What with bad drivers, having someone chase after me when we were leaving a petrol forecourt because they'd charged me for the wrong pump, and our youngest dog crapping the most liquid, vile-smelling turd possible that you couldn't so much as pick it up and smear it over the carpet.
Oh, God, Jesus.
Thought it was a dirty protest. Turns out she was warning me as to how shy Leeds were going to be. Listened on the radio driving back. Sounded like the team need training in advanced rugby skills like catching and holding the ball.
There you go. Paul Ludo Lewis got in touch. He says, when I saw this advertised, I was thinking, what's the point of watching a one-sided battering that I see every week at Widnes? But glad I give it a go. Leeming, Jerry and Mella were standouts, and Danny Brough doing what he does best, being brilliant 1 minute and a massive twat the next. Finally, a special note to Sky. This is rugby league, not football, so stop making us look starstruck when a player or manager turns up.
Yeah, Gareth Southgate, the England football coach, was at this one instead of at the Manchester derby. That caused quite a stir.
Well, there'll have been significantly more English players on the pitch for that, I'd have thought.
Yeah, and whilst the 17,000 cutaways to him probably was a bit unnecessary, certainly making the point he was there was a good a good
Something the same what we do
point.
with Stuart Pearce or fucking Chris Evans when they turn up at Warrington.
I think we maybe cut away to them too often.
Yes.
But
perhaps we cut away to our own coaches too often for my liking. Never mind people in the fucking crowd.
Most certainly, yeah.
So come on then. What was I doing at this point? I was eating all you can eat ribs in a cowboy restaurant with Erin at this point. So talk us through it, Mark.
It was a good game because Leeds lost.
Yeah, they are all good games, those, aren't
they? In all seriousness, though.
Oh no, I mean that with all seriousness.
Huddersfield. Look, Rick Stone is gonna need someone to die every week at this rate. If that's the only thing that can motivate this team, and because seriously, if it wasn't for that inner motivation that the sad news of Jennifer Davey helped spur the players along, I didn't see where this performance was coming from. But the second half, they really controlled the thing, particularly through the kicking game. And Danny Brough is a mouthy idiot, but
he can play rugby league.
He can control the game of rugby league. The 40-20s, they kicked, put them on the front foot a couple of times to give them attacking opportunities. They still weren't exactly sparkling in attack. It took a touch of luck on the Jake Mamo try because he was close to being offside, and you're not normally expecting Alex Mellor to put in a kick that bounces up just quite so perfectly for the onrushing fullback.
Great player, Alex Mellor.
But it all worked out well for them in that regard. And in the second half, they were just so much more controlled than Leeds, and I couldn't help but feel watching it that still a year and a half on, a Kevin Sinfield-led Leeds team would not have
lost that.
Would not have succumbed the way they did. Leeds scored a try in the first half through Parcell. That was just an embarrassment of defending by Huddersfield. So it's really positive for them that they were able to turn their attitude and the shit around and sort themselves out. I'm still not convinced it's a turning point in their season, even though they've got star players like Ikehefo. I think that average performer isn't up to scratch.
There you go. So what did the stats tell us on this one then?
Well, the stats were actually really close, and other than a 12-8 penalty count, Leeds were on the better end of although in many cases only just, of most of the key numbers. 2 more breaks, 1.2% better team tackle success were the stat wins that Leeds couldn't take advantage of. I think the intangible thing is that controlled kicking game that swung this one way rather than the other in the second half. Yeah,
there you go. And individually, who stood out for us then?
Darnell McIntosh with a try, 139 metres, 2 clean breaks. Jerry McGilvray with 136 metres. So whilst he wasn't flash, he worked hard. Ryan Hinchcliffe, 43 tackles. Sebastian Ikehefo, 7 tackle busts.
And for the Leeds Rhinos then?
Mitch Garbutt with 5 tackle busts, 175 metres. Jamie Jones Buchanan, 43 tackles. Ryan Hall, 136 metres. So doing the same as what Jerry did, and Jack Walker a try assist, 6 tackle busts, 121 metres.
Young man, bravo.
Yeah, he's particularly flashy in the build up to the Joel Moon try, supporting a break and getting around the ball and stuff, and doing what all good fullbacks should do, and just about finding the pass to release his teammate.
Good to see 2 exciting young players making the stats roundup, as well as Walker. Darnell McIntosh as well, impressive for Huddersfield, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's moved out to the wing with the
arrival of the Urban Samurai.
Well, he's gone to ponytail this week from Urban Samurai.
So what is he now? Fucking drummer in a covers band.
He looks just like that guy that somehow ends up living with your mum when your dad leaves, and she lands with some sleazy guy who thinks he's like an artist and a musician and all of that. But really is just a fucking knobhead, and just sleazes on.
This is coming from a place, isn't it?
And you know sleazes on your teenage sister's mates and that sort of thing.
Oh,
you know what I mean? That's what he looks like.
Kind of guy.
But he plays like a guy who's got a little bit about him, and I think he
get that haircut, strawberry.
I think he certainly offers a little bit more overall in attack than McIntosh. Did from the fullback position. Not that McIntosh was doing too shabby in that spot.
No.
But I think it's good that he's not like dropped his head when he's been moved out to the wing and has kept going.
Fair play to the boy. Okay, so to Friday night then, Hull FC scored 20 unanswered second half points against the Warrington Wolves to register a 34 points to 10 victory in front of 10,734 of Hull's finest. James Charles was referee, Mark.
Yeah, and we start with Wire Joe. Said, we were in this one for all of about 10 minutes, but as Joe Philbin's brain exploded by not putting away his supporting man a minute after the restart, so did our chances of getting anything out of this game. Soft up the middle, blunt in attack and leaky in defence. You're not going to win many games of rugby league with that combination.
David B said, a terrible ref. 2 tries for Hull from forward passes. Kelly's try was short. Warrington try was disallowed by ridiculous video ref decision, and Fonua should get 6 matches for a deliberate attempt to injure. I presume he means Sikamanu. But
yeah, he does, yeah.
Okay.
The Kelly try wasn't short. It was so like just. Do you remember the Ben Jones Bishop one earlier this year? That was just about to brush the line. This was very similar. It went onto Stephen Ratchford's foot, the ball, and then came off, still in Kelly's possession, and basically brushed the line as it was coming off the foot, and it was a try. In terms of 2 tries from forward passes, I didn't pick up on those quite so much, so I'm assuming David B is a Warrington fan. But yeah, he's totally right about the Sikamanu incident on Ryan Atkins, and not the biggest fan of Ryan Atkins, but I don't want to see people doing stuff like that to fellow professionals. It was awful. It was clearly deliberate, and at the time of that happening, the Hull fans really got around the referee. I don't think they thought he was giving them the rub of the green. I think the penalty count was running away from them at that stage, and then this happened, and they probably didn't see it as being as bad as it was. But when they all watched it back, they all have realised he's on a grade C charge, so that's only a maximum of 3 games. I don't know if that's enough for me.
Let's have a look.
To be honest, because it was deliberate, it was dangerous, it was
Sounds pretty reprehensible then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Aidan Stalker got in touch. What do you have to say?
Absolutely despise that shit from Sikamanu. It's borderline psychotic as he has a bit of time to think about it, and I wouldn't be against giving a red card for it. Hull put on a superb performance with Snide on top form. Fanua was very good, but I thought Connor had the best game I've seen from him. Put an O before his name and an Irish shirt on his back.
There you go. Tyler Casfan said, Hull seem to have come through their bad patch and are now kicking on. If a decision or two had gone Wire's way, it would have been only delaying the inevitable. Thought Fanua was going to go the full length until he hit that patch of treacle 20 metres out. Wire good in patches but can't seem to sustain it.
Yeah, but when Fanua made his long break, he managed to find a man supporting, whereas when Joe Philbin made his, he couldn't get the ball in and then had the obstruction, which was basically, if he'd ran a bit faster through the hole, Philbin, then he wouldn't have obstructed the defender. But he slowed down as he was going through the hole, sort of a tired effort because he was gassed from the long run he'd done, which was a great run, and it just meant that the defender couldn't make a play on Jack Hughes. So I think it was just about it was another toughish one, but I think because I don't think the try would have been stopped, but there was no opportunity to stop it from one of the defenders, unfortunately.
Scoots
28 Max says, very finely balanced first half. Turning point of the match was Warrington's disallowed try straight after half time. From then we didn't look like losing. Kids were very impressive again. Connor started to click. Definite yellow for Manu. I just want to see other similar offences also punished. Well, I think we are seeing that, to be honest. Thought Brown was lucky to stay on after his spear tackle on Downs. Yeah, that was wasn't great. I don't think it was as bad as what we've seen, but if a yellow card had been pulled out for it, I certainly think that would have been reasonable. I don't think they pushed him into there was a lift, but I don't think there was a drive. And I also don't think he was ever particularly far off the ground, but still, I would not be against every incident like that getting a yellow card, personally, so I'm sort of with Scoots there.
Okay, Paul Mac 78 said, great second half from Hull. Sneed had 3 great kicks in a row which piled on the pressure. Kelly bowled up everywhere, but Mahe was a clear man of the match. Also, as a Giants fan, can I just say how happy I am to see Jake Connor playing so well? Puzzled face.
Scratchy chin face, yeah.
Puzzled face, do you think that's like the emoticon for big chinny beard?
Maybe. Rich Langley said, arguably Hull's best game of the season, still suffering one of the worst injury crises seen in Super League, probably, but the Hull 17 stood up with big contributions across the park and a few brain farts aside, Seeker. We put down what was a good Wolves side, also missing a few. With the players coming back, this could be a good period for the Hull side on the up.